compensation, wages. There's many names that goes by, but at the end of the day, you have somebody that's out there. They've gone through, they're sacrificing part of their actual lives to sit down, and they're giving you their most valuable commodity. It's called time, to sit down there and do work on your behalf. They want to make certain they're compensated well. But you, as an employer, need to make certain they're also compensated well, because otherwise they may not be there. They'll go find work someplace else. There's a whole multitude of different things that you have a vested interest in making certain your compensation package is appropriate. From our perspective, the pay has a big impact on the employee's attitudes and behaviors. It's a motivational interest as you go through, but this actually a little bit more than that. But really, from our perspective as an employer, we're looking at it aligns the interest in employees with the broader organization. And we'll talk about the structure, that which is a big deal here. Also, there's a significant organizational cost. It depends on the organization, the wages and the actual overall cost of an employer can be 60 to even 90%. One organization, one college, colleges really focus in on a big percentage of our budget as employees. As you go through, wages and benefits cost up to 94% of the entire budget. Now that was extreme, except for the fact it was a unique year as you go through, but wages play a giant part of the organization's budget, and it's a critical part of your business strategy. From the employee's view, the wages are a little bit different perspective as you go through. They affect, number one, the overall income and the standard of living. Everybody would like to sit and live one notch higher if they could as you go through. It also is an issue of fairness as you go through. By the time you're done, I've been here so many years, and this person comes in and they're making more money than me. Sometimes people get really upset. They don't look at the overall, from the perspective of the employer, we want to make certain that the higher the level of responsibility, the more compensation there. No, sometimes equity is a giant status as you go through. The fact that I'm making more because I work harder as you go through. Sometimes you need to back up and look at the employee's perspective before you start making big organizational decisions that sit down there, and you may lose critical employees as you go through. A lot of times the pay is a status and a symbol of success to the person inside the organization, but a lot of times it's a status symbol for the person on the inside and an intrinsic motivation. I finally reached level 27. That's been my goal their entire career sometimes as you go through. I'm at the executive vice president level in the organization. Sometimes it's not about the money, sometimes it's the title, but the title and the ranking perspective and the salary just goes along with the rank as you go through. There's a lot of different views as to what pay is, but at the end of the day, it's money out of the corporation's pocket as you go through. A lot of times on the salary levels, you're going to look on the pay structure, and the structure has a pay level and also the job structure as you go through. And a lot of times the job structure should be based upon knowledge, skills, and abilities, called KSA, as we mentioned before. And then sometimes it's individual pay as you go through. A big part of pay deals with equity. One of the worst moments in human resources is going through and doing a salary schedule restructuring as you go through. I've done it multiple times, and every time people end up hating everybody associated with it as you go through. Some think it's about time I got what it was worth in the process, and some of them saying, I work harder than that person. You go through a salary structure, you do a market basket comparison, you look at the wages you're paying the employees currently, you go through other comparable institutions, organizations, companies that are local and region as you go through, see what the wages are over there. And sometimes there's a political lobbying effort as to what companies, why they're nothing like us at all. I'm serious, that's how it works as you go through, but you'll see this whole market basket, and then it comes back that, gee, you're getting paid about 12% higher than the other corporations. So no, your request for additional funds is denied. But this group over here, they've been undercompensated based upon the market basket study of the community, so their wages are going to go up. But I work harder, more hours, they're not as dedicated as me. And the fact of the matter is, that could be true as you go through, but it doesn't change the fact when you raise those things, People will hate the people that got the raise. They'll hate their boss for allowing it to happen. And of all things, they will hate human resources and those evil people that sat there and did it. That's why you hire a consultant. And you say, the consultant did it and everything else, because of the fact that as soon as you own it, they're going to hate you. Blame the consultant, bring them in, pay them whatever they're worth, or even more. And then it just says, those consultants do that. We're just adapting as you go through. And that's actually how it generally works as you go through. Equity is a big thing when it comes to pay and fairness. And make certain that you're as transparent as possible as you go through. Here is a very clever formula that absolutely nobody ever uses. The author included it here. I thought I would toss in. In theory, they're going to compare their own ratio of perceived outcomes, pay, benefits, and working conditions to their outputs to the organization as you go through. And they have this thing on the inside of their head, what they're worth as you go through. You come in, you bring in data, and the data sit down and damages their own perception as to what's inside the organization as you go through. It can be really difficult as you go through. When it comes down to social comparisons of pay, you need to pay a lot of attention to the external equity as you go through. People go through, they'll look on the pay schedule of somebody out over here. Sometimes they ignore some of the things about benefits. You may have a copay for your prescriptions that's $3 for a prescription, and this person may have $20 prescription, but they're making $20,000 more money in compensation. They only tend to focus on the things that sit there line their pocketbook. Sometimes don't think about some of the benefits as you go through. Make certain if you have a high compensation package, you also have a good benefit package, but tell them what great benefits they have as you go through. Speak as to say, look at this, we have this. You can have lifetime medical insurance. You can retire and 20 years later, continue to have great insurance coverage. Almost nobody provides that. Make certain you tell them and you talk up all the good things. Look at the opportunities you have over here. You have employee parking. They have to pay and scramble inside a parking structure. Oh my gosh, we're so much better. Look at this over here. Make certain that you are all the time broadcasting how great they have it as you go through. So they focus on this external equity as you go through, that you are comparable to everybody in the process, in the market that's local to them as you go through. The internal equity is a big thing as you go through. The job evaluations, when it goes through, make certain that you're clear and transparent, that the report is out there as you go through. It really helps to go through and establish the pay level, like a market basket comparison. Here that we call it a market pay survey as you go through. And then the job structure, that you have some type of thing with increased responsibility comes increased compensation as you go through. You can also tie in different things of bonuses and actually stock options as you go through. Don't forget about those as also pay structures as you go through. Often the largest cost employer, 65 to 90% of all the costs of employer can be wages. That's why this is an important topic. To the employee, it's money, status, and a comparison. And equity is a major factor to make certain it's balanced internally with the corporation and also externally as you go through. But overall, it should reflect the level of responsibility and commitment you're expecting from that person to the organization. Take care.